What the? I don't know what the fuck you got, yo. Craig, don't with me, bitch.
No one was ready for what would happen as the lights went down and the cameras started rolling to spice up the unapologetic dance hall for a night of drama on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, a show known for its spectacular showdowns and explosive confrontations. Jasmine Washington and Queen, the Ever. For weeks, Jasmine had been stirring things up, throwing shade, making derogatory remarks, and treating almost everyone in her path disrespectfully. Now the dramatic fire starter was set to clash in a way that would permanently alter the dynamics of the program. Secured her spot as one of Love and Hip Hop's biggest stars, Atlanta had put up with the taunts for a while, but it was obvious that she was at her breaking point. A woman like Spice could only take so much abuse before she felt it was time to act. It all started at a well-known event. The night was supposed to be a celebration at an upmarket gathering of the Love and Hip Hop cast, complete with cameras, producers, and crew. However, as the cast mixed together, tension boiled beneath the surface. Jasmine Ever, the troublemaker, had been making crude comments all evening, but today she put her sights on Spice. Knowing how to set people off, Jasmine began attacking Spice's legacy and reputation in the music business, calling her everything from irrelevant to washed up in an attempt to expose flaws in her career and role on the show. Sensing the impending storm, the crowd crowded around, but no one anticipated what would happen next. Spice, whose typical assurance had given way to a seething, the atmosphere became tense as Spice became quiet but dangerous because Fury had finally reached her breaking point. She had been mistreated enough, and Jasmine wasn't going to get away with it this time. She rose gently from her chair, and others around her went silent as they noticed the change in the atmosphere. Jazz, still wearing that arrogant grin, was too preoccupied with trying to discredit the woman who had established herself through her hard work and natural talent to recognize what was about to happen. Didn't recognize the anger or Spice's expression on Hardin's face. Unexpectedly growing inside her, Spice rushed in Jasmine's direction across the room. Jasmine glanced up in time to see Spice standing there, and the expression in her eyes was one of unwavering strength and resolve. Spice's voice was piercing, and before she loomed over her, the whole room seemed to take its breath. This was more than just words. It was personal. You think you can simply stroll about here and treat me disrespectfully? And her comments had a profound impact on the audience. Jasmine, who was still full of confidence, attempted to defend herself, but she was already losing. Spice's patience had run out. You've been talking non-stop for far too long, Jasmine. She did clarify her tone in a calm, steady voice, and I'm done with. Spice then made a daring gesture that left everyone in disbelief and would alter the direction of the evening and the performance. Spice said, "You're done here. You're out," pointing directly at Jasmine. The words struck Jasmine like a kick to the stomach, and she gazed at Spice in unbelief. The room erupted into turmoil as her mouth opened and closed in an attempt to construct a response, but nothing came out. The reality of what had just been stated hit her like a ton of bricks. It was evident that Jasmine was no longer wanted on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Members of the cast. All eyes were on the two ladies as they squared up in the middle of the room, and while some were astonished and others were relieved, they were whispering to each other, confused about how to respond. Jasmine attempted to save her pride by getting to her feet and firing back, but the damage had already been done. The show's position was no longer guaranteed. Spice's voice grew more intense as she said, "You think you're going to come in here and ruin everything I've worked for? No one treats me with such contempt or disregards my legacy. The crowd observed as Spice's. Her domination and strength filled the room. She wasn't merely protecting herself. She was taking charge of the story. Jasmine, who was now clearly upset and ashamed, attempted to argue, but her words were ignored. The producers and security moved in to indicate that the moment was over. As Jasmine was let out, there was no more space for her and no more tolerance for her actions. Jasmine's expression changed from one of rage to one of shock to one of pure humiliation. The woman who had previously played a major role in the drama was being shown the door now. "Goodbye, Jasmine," Spice stated. "You're out of here, and don't ever come back with those words." With such finality that there was no space for dispute. Jasmine's stint in Love and Hip Hop Atlanta came to an end when she was expelled, not by the producers, but by the other actors, but by one individual whose anger no one could. The cast was left to deal with the aftermath as Jasmine was escorted out of the building. Spice's strong, decisive choice established a precedent for the show, stating that no one was above the law, was not answerable. Spice had demonstrated to the world that she wasn't merely a spectator to the drama, but rather that she was in charge of it. She wasn't scared to assume the reins and make sure that everyone understood that respect was a must in the lounge. Standing erect, she looked around the room, meeting the gazes of the other actors. They all realized that something important had changed. This was no longer simply about Jasmine's actions. It was a declaration about power management and what it meant to really claim your place in the spotlight. Following Hip Hop and Love in response to the startlingly bold move, Atlanta fans took to social media. Some praised Spice as a hero for defending herself, while others questioned the savagery of her choice. Regardless of public opinion, the world will never forget Spice's decision to remove Jasmine from the show. It was a pivotal moment that changed the game's rules. The episode ended with Spice knowing that she had just conveyed a clear message. The queen stood tall and unfazed. Nobody would ever confront her again, not even Jasmine.